Today we come to you in stunning wood picture to bring you the video review of Beast Wars Transmetal Optimus Primal. Old Optimus here hails from the land of the rising sun. As such, instead of saying Optimus on his chest, it says Cybertron with a cool little Maximal symbol. For those who don't know, Cybertron and Destron are the Japanese versions of Maximal and Predacon. Alright, enough of that. At first glance, this is actually a pretty awesome toy. His colors are pretty righteous in this mode, especially with the Japanese purple instead of the American brown. The chrome metal blue is really nice. You can almost see my computer screen in the chest. As with all Optimus Primal figures after the first season, I have a complaint that this really just doesn't ring true to Optimus. The gorilla is so angry, and that just doesn't convey Optimus's character in the slightest. I don't think Optimus Primal ever made a face anything like this in either of his modes throughout the entire series. Look at him! He's genuinely pissed at the world! As far as gorilla mode goes, this is probably my favorite of the three modes, with the exception of this egregious leg kibble back here and hip-mounted hairdryer. For convenience, though, you can take this thing off and put it on his back. It doesn't bother me that he has these maces on the back. I figure even a gorilla can swing maces. And just for the record, he can hold these with his gorilla mode hands, but then you have the issue of putting the gun back here. I'm really happy with the way they did the back on this figure. Since this figure has two chests, they found a very inventful way of hiding it. My rub symbol is less of a rub symbol now, it just sort of always looks like that. This gorilla mode features a ridiculous set of pecs in 4-pack, which I don't mind. Posability is sort of an issue considering he doesn't have knee joints. The only way to get him to stand is either to lean him back like this, or put him down on all fours, which brings up the issue that his head isn't articulated at all. It'd be nice if in this mode he had the ability to look up so at least he had one decent pose. What's up with these feet? These are terrible. It's only got 4 toes, and it's not really reminiscent of a gorilla in the slightest. I might buy it if it had a thumb coming off of each foot, but the way they did it looks so half-assed. And the outside toes are made up of the midsection of the surfboard, so they're a lot longer than his middle toes, which just looks weird. Speaking of half-assed, they didn't try and do anything with the lower robot legs here, they just sort of stuck them on the back, and it really detracts from gorilla mode. Since he has a Transmetal, he does have a vehicle mode that comes off of his beast mode, and for those of you who know, it's kind of weird. Oh my god, they're becoming aware! Now this is where I draw the line with the weird Transmetal vehicles. It's a gorilla on a hoverboard. Pretty sure this is how the gorillas from Planet of the Apes got started. It bugs me less that his feet are actually attached to the hoverboard and more so that he's on one at all. I could get past the VTOL engine roller skating dinosaur, but the surfing gorilla, See, now this is where the lack of head articulation becomes an issue because the only way to get him to look forward is to turn him at the waist, and that just doesn't look right. Since the surfboard's been put together, he only has 2 toes for his gorilla mode. He has what you could call wheels on the bottom of his hoverboard, but I wouldn't since rolling isn't one of their strengths. For reasons that will become apparent in a minute, this is the only mode that's acceptable to have this visible. Now on to robot mode. First thing you want to do is split the surfboard back in half, rotate it, and fold down what's going to be the legs. I transform the legs first because sometimes I like to pretend this is his robot mode instead. Fold down the little thruster, spin him around, and pull down his side panels, and then pull this thing back and up. Open up the chest cavity, fold out the robot head, and fold in the gorilla head. And then spin the robot head around. Take this back section and fold it down over the gorilla chest. Push it in. Fold down the shoulder pads. Spin the arms around. Open up the forearms. Spin out the robot hands. And rotate at the waist. Since I showed you the gorilla with the robot legs, here's the robot with the gorilla surfboard. No. And there you have Transmetal Optimus Primal in robot mode. Now here's one of my biggest complaints about the figure comes in, because this is nothing like Optimus Primal from the show. Now don't get me wrong, the design is spot on, but Optimus Primal wasn't this big, buff, hulking, stupid dude with the tiny head. He was borderline pacifist who kicked ass when he had to. As far as Optimuses go, I prefer Primal. Yes, Optimus Prime is awesome, but he's sort of a buzzkill. Optimus Primal actually has some personality. He'll make jokes from time to time, make fun of people. He was a much more endearing character, even though he was less likely to tear somebody's face off. If this figure weren't Optimus Primal, I'd probably like it a lot more. But this just doesn't feel like Primal to me. Primal was such a nice guy. What's up with this big, buff ridiculousness? He even has a hairy chest. He's a robot. Why does he have a hairy chest? Okay, I get it. They're beast formers, but still, come on. Due to his massive muscles, I'm less inclined to call him the Maximal Leader, and more inclined to call him the Transforminator. Future Governor of California? That's just Prime. I know I can squeeze an illegitimate child joke in here somewhere. Peace is the right of all sentient beings. Again, unnecessary angry face. He's hideous. He looks like some human gibbon hybrid with metal skull reconstruction. Can you say pig nose? I dig the color on his eyes, though. I think that's pretty cool. I originally had the American version, which featured brown instead of purple and orange instead of gold. Worst color combination ever. Which is why when my buddy complained about his Japanese version, I was eager to trade with him. If you have the American version, the orange paint on his chest and face scratches real easily, so be careful. I don't seem to have that problem with the gold. A warning to those of you who have or are looking for the American version of this figure, when transforming him back into gorilla mode, I recommend you rotate the head around before folding it in, simply because when the panel closes, if his orange face is up, it has a tendency to scratch on the panel above. Even though the American color scheme isn't an issue on this toy, the blue is. Where he sports a lot of blue in gorilla mode, on robot mode, there's so little of it. It throws off the color scheme of the figure. I'm a little worried about the purple plastic on this toy simply because it is slightly clear, and I know clear plastic has a tendency to break easier. Despite the fact that he has sparkly, glittery stuff in his purple section, I think this version looks infinitely better. But good luck finding any on eBay. In this mode, the back section from Gorilla Mode is upside down, so the handles of the maces point up, giving him the cool full ability to reach back and grab one of his maces before he bashes somebody's head in with it. Thruster comes off in this mode and can be used as a handheld gun, but the little pin that's supposed to hold it to his leg usually comes out with it, so I usually just leave it on. It kind of looks like a scope if you rotate it right. Plus, it doesn't hurt the size of the gun, which... my god, what is this? Now I understand why he has chest hair in this mode. They needed something to do with this hairdryer. Whatever the reason is for this gun being too small, this is the worst case of big man, little gun syndrome I've ever seen. It's terminal. It's not a tumor. Usually the problem is you end up with toys whose guns are too big and they can't stand. Never have I had the problem where the gun is too small. This is not a gun for this figure. Now this is a gun for this figure. Which perpetuates the problem of this toy not looking like Optimus Primal. Optimus Primal wouldn't use a gun this big, but if you want this guy to look a little less under-weaponized, you might want to give him something bigger. For some reason, his hairdryer shoots maces out of it, but not very well. You sort of have to push them out quickly with your thumb, even though there is in fact a spring in there. Coupled with his gigantic biceps and pecs, this gun looks even more pathetic. It doesn't help that it's purple. You know those really buff guys that have little frou-frou dogs? This is his frou-frou dog. This might be the only gay robot I know of. Hey, Raptor. Is he your kind of guy? No. Not sure? No? Oh, Raptor, you're so silly. Now, to sort of make up for that pathetic little gun, he does have a built-in anti-aircraft gun. The only problem is, now he has two chests. The Optimus Primal toys have the inherent problem of going from a gorilla with 2 arms and 2 legs into a humanoid robot with 2 arms and 2 legs. You often end up with the problem of his legs and arms in beast mode being his legs and arms in robot mode, and his torso in beast mode being his torso in robot mode. Which brings up the issue of the hands. You have to rotate out the beast mode hand for the robot hand, which kind of feels like a waste of plastic because they're almost exactly the same hand. If they'd found a way to rotate the arms so they wouldn't have to have 4 hands on this figure, I would have been a little bit happier. At least in this mode, his head can move, but still not up. I'm really worried about these arm joints right here. It's so hard to twist the bicep, I'm afraid one day it's gonna snap. My god, his arms are thicker than his legs! What is up with these legs? This is the most half-assed attempt at a foot I've ever seen. At least this mode features knees. His foot doesn't lean forward, only back. If you're not careful when twisting his knees, you end up popping off the gorilla mode foot. I really didn't like the fact that they took away Optimus's ability to fly in robot mode. So it's kind of nice that his gun fits back there in the screw hole. It actually kind of looks like his jetpack from the first season, except you only get one, so... I'm looking for another one of these purple ones or 2 brown ones to match. If anybody knows where I can get a couple easily, I'd love to know. My complaint is this guy starts a trend of primals who are further and further removed from the original as they go. It took me forever to get that. In the end, I gotta give this guy a 7. I still enjoy this toy, just not as Optimus Primal. It's got fantastic articulation, fantastic colors, and some fantastic features, albeit a little goofy. Aside from some issues with the design, it's a fantastic toy, and if you want it, I recommend getting it. This has been the video review for Transmetal Optimus Primal, and thank you for watching. Get to the chopper!